Hello, BookTube. This is Friday Reads. I'm Jen, and I talk about audiobooks. And hi, I guess I didn't see you last week. I was out of town, and the standard things apply, you know, nowhere to film, no lighting, yeah, all of that. I did a fair amount of driving, and I think I should have gotten more reading done than I did, more listening, as it were, but I didn't. But I have several things to tell you about, so let me just jump right in and start with those. The first is Divided We Fall. It is book one in the Ava's Crucible series by Mark Goodwin, and it is narrated on audio by Stacy Glembowski. This narration was so good. I have to tell you that I largely forgot that, you know, the book was being told to me because, you know, and that's the mark of a great narrator. I say this all the time, but you know, if you're not really paying attention to the narration, you're not getting pulled out of the story for any reason, then that's the sign of an excellent narrator. And she was very much so. But the thing about her is her voice is so pleasing to my personal ear. Now that's not going to be true for everybody, but I really liked the sound of her voice. I might find some other things she narrates and try those out. Okay, Christian post-apocalyptic fiction, yeah. I wanted to try some of this genre just because I want to try more Christian fiction in general. And it was really interesting. It's about economic collapse in the US, and it's very right now in that the stuff that's happening in the book could actually happen in real life. I don't think it will, but I can see how some people, actually a lot of people, would think that it might. It's set in Austin, Texas, and I think that the author did that because Austin is a very kind of hipster town. You know, I mean, I apologize if you live there and I'm not characterizing it the right way, but the author characterizes it as a good mix of liberal and conservative, you know, kind of liberal for Texas, but still Texas. And Texas is pretty much get out of the way, we do it big, and I've got a gun. Yeah, and again, if you're from Texas and I'm misrepresenting that, I do apologize, but that's kind of the feel that I got from the author. Okay, so there are a lot of guns in this book. There is a little bit of shooting. There is a lot of kind of fundamentalist thinking, you know, in terms of we're not going to let these people take over our country. And we're going to fight against that, and that kind of thinking, which I think if you have a broader, more liberal view of the world, that will really bug you. It didn't bug me as much, although I think, you know, obviously I found several places where I disagree ideologically with the book, but overall, I thought it was an okay story. I've read better post-apocalyptic fiction. Probably because this is so close to reality in its description of the demise of the United States. For what it is, I think it's probably pretty good. I gave it 4 stars. Okay, then I followed it up with a reread of The Darkest Minds by Alexandra Bracken. This is book 1 in the trilogy, and I read it because the movie just came out. It's narrated on audio by Amy McFadden, and I tell you, I enjoyed it the 3rd time every bit as much as the 1st and 2nd times. I gave it 5 stars, left my rating what it was. These characters are just so endearing and so good, and just the way she tells the story within the setting is wonderful. This is post-apocalyptic dystopian YA. I don't feel like I need to go on and on about, you know, what it's about because it's been around a while, and of course the movie came out. I did go see the movie. I was not thrilled with the movie. I was kind of disappointed, and I think that the trouble there is that when you are watching a movie and you're constantly thinking that's not the way it happened, then, you know, I think that's kind of a disappointment in terms of the translation and the adaptation of the book. But for what it is, a 15-year-old girl is going to love it. So yeah, loved The Darkest Minds all over again. I'm tempted to keep going with the series, and I might do that because I have some friends that haven't read it yet, so I might. Then I picked up All Your Perfects, which is the pick for the Happily Ever Afters book club, which is the one that I have started with my friend Lisa. So I'm not going to tell you what I thought. I am going to encourage you to tune in to the live show. The live show will be the last Wednesday in August, and it is all the information about it is in the description box below. So I'll let you know when it's coming up closer to the time, but I really hope that you can tune in to that and participate in that, because half the fun of these live shows is answering the comments and watching the comments scroll as you go, and you know, everybody gets to have a voice, and I love that. Then I picked up Reset by Brian Andrews. This is narrated on audio by Ray Porter. I gotta tell you, Ray Porter is my go-to guy for adult sci-fi, and he is always good. You know, I always know that when I see that he's the narrator that I'm gonna love it. Even if I don't love the story, at least I'm gonna love the narration. And of course, this was no exception. He is just so good. God, I love him as a narrator. Okay, the book, in the beginning, you get introduced to several characters. And so none of them are really related. And so you kind of have to keep going with it. Just hang in there with it and just accept that you're getting to know these characters. And then there is a guy who is in the army. He's actually in Afghanistan, and he has to crawl into a cavern, and when he does, he gets in there and something happens and a thing is discovered that changes everything. And so it's all about defeating the thing, because the thing is not good. And the thing is, you know, trying to take over the world. So it's just really well done. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And of course, you know, the narration helped a lot with that. And I ended up giving that one 4.5 stars, but I did round it down to 4. Great read, really entertaining, and yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. Then I needed some romance, so I picked up The Fortunate Ones, and this is by R.S. Gray, narrated on audio by Brittany Presley. Loved Brittany Presley. You know, I say that a lot about narrators lately, don't I? Maybe it's because I get a lot of the same ones that I already like. But Brittany Presley was great. She does a lot of romance, adult fiction, you know, that kind of thing. And I just thought it was great. I believed it. And you can't ask for better than that when it comes to a narrator who's doing good voice acting. It's just your standard romance. It's about a girl who is from money, but she's working in a country club that is full of people with money, and it's just the romance that she kind of falls into with this guy who is the big, you know, deal hot guy at the club that all the girls are falling over and all that kind of thing. And so yeah, it's about that. And it was okay. R.S. Gray is an author that I like. I like her stories. So I ended up giving it 3 stars. I think that if you like romance, then that's a good one to grab from the Audible Romance package. If you have that, then I've grabbed 2 or 3 this past week from that. I'm trying to really use that, because why have it if you're not going to use it? But yeah, that one was pretty good. Then I picked up Wanderlust by Lauren Blakely. This is narrated on audio by Grace Grant and Richard Armitage. And again, Audible Romance. Oh my goodness, what a sweet story. This was so refreshing to me. Grace Grant, I liked her a lot, but Richard Armitage. Okay, the thing about this book is that in the very beginning, Grace Grant is voicing a woman who is a scientist who makes perfume and lotion and all kinds of things. And she's moving to Paris, and she's from Texas, and she's very outgoing. She's very excited about being in Paris, and she can't speak the language, so she needs a translator. So one of the things that she starts out saying is, you know, of all the men in the world, you know, the really, really hot ones that will grab my attention are not the Italian ones, not the French ones, but that guy with a British accent. Oh my goodness. Well, of course, the other main character has a British accent, and his thing that you hear kind of his inner dialogue is those American women. Oh, I love that American accent. It's so bold, it's so big, and oh, I just love that. So you're starting out with that, and it's really fun. So this was, you know, a friends to lovers kind of thing, but there wasn't that overwhelming tension that will drive you up a wall with some of these stories. This was just a gradual falling into love, and you know, there was a bit of tension and a conflict at the end, but it wasn't over the top or anything. And it was just, you know, I got to the end and I thought, oh, it was one of those kind of stories. And you know, from time to time, you need that. You just need something that doesn't overwhelm you with angst and problems and, you know, all that kind of thing. So it was wonderful. And then I picked up Offsides. This is by Sawyer Bennett and narrated by Charlotte North and Matthew Holland. It is Off series, #1, the Off series. And again, Audible romance, and I DNF'd this one. It's not a bad book, it just didn't hit me right at the time. I gave it 2 stars because I got probably at least halfway through it. But it was just so college and new adult, and I don't know if I'm just not in the mood for that right now or what, but I wasn't in the mood for it, so I just put it aside, DNF'd it, sadly. But you might like it. I mean, it's not a bad book, and as new adult goes, I think it probably was light and good, and you might enjoy it. Then, once again, going back to Audible romance, I picked up The Perfect Illusion by Winter Renshaw, and that's narrated on audio by Holly Chandler and Matthew Holland. I'm listening to that right now. I'll probably be done with it later this evening, but it's good. It's, you know, one of those hate to love kind of things, you know? There's the trope, so I'll keep you posted next week. I'm hoping in this next week also to pick up Vox by someone I forget, but I think it's narrated by Julia Whalen, and it looks really good. It is adult sci-fi. I don't know if you call it sci-fi, maybe just dystopian. It's set in the future where women are limited to a certain amount of words per day that they can speak, and they are very oppressed, and yeah, that sounds pretty good. So that's hopefully this coming week. And once again, I want to remind you about the live show on the last Wednesday in August, and it'll happen at, I think it's at 8 p.m. And I will be hosting it, and Lisa from Books and Smiles will be joining me, and Michaela from Michaela Eve Reads might be joining us. I'm not sure. She's kind of iffy on this whole thing. And then I'm hoping to invite one other person. So we'll see. It should be a really good, fun discussion of a book that I have a lot to say about. And the book is All Your Perfects by Colleen Hoover, narrated by Madeline Mabey. I hope you have a great weekend, and yeah, that's it for now for me. I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.